day there will be justice. One day there will be peace. One day there will be another way. But for now, I have death threats. They are your death threats, death threats. They lie about me. They cry into me. They hide from me. They see what I possess. They hide away. Death threats. For now, death threats. I told you they were following you. I told you they were after you. Because you tell the truth. Because your voice is heard.
Hi everyone, this is Amelia Duran. It is 11 o'clock, New Year's Eve, December 2017. And I'm here with a special surprise guest. And Eugene Zorich, Death of the Justice System. And we're just going to kind of chat, right? Hi, welcome to the Porthole to Justice. I am your host, Amelia Duran, with my guest, Eugene Zorich. Hola, are you there?
I'm on. So what do you think of the new year? How's it going to work out, Amy?
It didn't work out. Very publicly, it didn't work out. So I'm at home recording a show, but it's kind of cool because everybody's kind of buzzing on the internet and brimming with hope. Trump released a new executive order, and the language has really got everybody excited and very hopeful for the New Year's. So, yeah.
Yeah, so you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure.
Well, you know, we told you the last time we were on, me and Bill, that things were going to change. People are always worried about change. They're worried about martial law. They're worried about this and that. And we'll just talk like regular people today, you know, just the regular people. When we bring the professor on or someone else, we can, you know, talk regular. Well, we went to visit the FBI on November 30th. I think it was after we did your show. And we brought them a bunch of stuff and a carload of stuff and affidavits and stuff. And if we're lying, they'd have to arrest us, so we're not lying. So basically what we tell you is a fact. And what you're going to say out there is the truth, too. And if people want to deny it or say something about it, let them come out and say it. But the new year should change pretty well because eventually the group that's against Trump is losing the battle. And they're outrageously talking stupid out there. And, you know, Amy, the people that think just because Trump's rich, he's no good, or he's a businessman, he's no good. Well, who do they think was going to fight the system with all this money? Somebody poor? Mm-hmm. We can't be out here 20 years, 25 years bringing down the government or fighting the government with all kind of things. And like your perfect answer was, we talked about the tapes, because people don't have any money. If they just jump in and ask for their tapes, write it up, write an affidavit for their tapes, and they're denied it, then they're not given due process, so they don't need to do anything else.
Yeah, I've written a template for, it's an affidavit for audio for the children and families that are members in the Porthole to Justice. And you guys, you can go there, look under the mem that's titled Death of the Justice System, which is a book that you and Bill Fabricius have available online for purchase. And where can they find that book? It's called The Death of the Justice System.
You know, I don't even know myself because I think it's published by Pritzker's and they probably would hold it back. But anyway, that's not important because we're going to be giving you stuff on there that you can put on your internet to give to the people regularly. And why we said about the tapes, I just want to explain that a little bit, is once you got something out there and you're asking for something and they deny it, they've already broken the law. But they already broken that law, broken your court case, and your due process wasn't served, then that vitiates everything in your case. So that's the first thing you got to know. So if we get up there and we had a writ of certiorari and we're tough with saying, I can't give you tapes because everybody will want them and blah, blah, blah. They'll be playing them every night on TV. Well, that's because he was afraid because they don't match. Common sense will tell you, and we're not the first people that they've done that to. So when you're asking for that, if there's something wrong with your tape, the case is definitely over. If they don't hand it to you, and the Supreme Court ruled on it a long time ago that you're supposed to get your tapes, because in a lot of courthouses they got it up there and it says how much the tapes are and what's what, you know. So basically that's it. And if they tell you they don't want them, figure it out yourself. Why don't they want you to have your tapes and your transcripts? Because they don't match. There's no other answer I can give you. There's no answer you can give me. But that's basically going over hash things. We had to stand here a long time with them because as you go through the system and you run through Clinton to Bush to Obama, you're running into the same people. It doesn't matter if they're Republican or Democrat. They're politicians. They want everything the way it is to make money and push themselves up. It's like a hierarchy, you know, and they keep doing it the way they want to do it, and they ain't looking for a change. Well, they sort of destroyed the country because that's why everything was down, and everybody was trying to claim too much of the pie. And that hurt some other parts of the country. So now they got opponents up there with Trump and the people back in Trump. Because, you know, he can't do it himself. Let's be real here. And he's not...
I personally, Eugene, I'm thrilled because everybody knows that tunes into my show and the Zeph Report, which I go on once a month to pray for the ending of human trafficking by 2020. Everybody knows I've been praying for that for 2 years now. And Trump just the other day released a new executive order proclamation claiming the month of January as National Slavery and Human Trafficking Prevention Month. So I'm planning to really ramp things up, a whole campaign. I'm thrilled. My prayers have been answered. I kind of feel like everything that I've been working for and, you know, trying to put out there, I'm starting to reap some of the fruits of my labor, and it feels good, Eugene.
Yeah, I don't blame you. It is going to be good. It's going to be better in 2018. Like, we were going to try to get this done by the holiday, but we ran into some FBI agents, and they were, like, a little bit afraid. I'll be honest with you. One guy's name was James Stover. The other guy, his name was Travis Hadid, or Hadid, I don't know how to spell it. And then the other guy's name was Ryan, but they wouldn't give us the first name or their numbers. But then the operators that we talked to would give us their numbers and 4-digit numbers. And see, when you persist in calling them, then you ask them questions and why these guys aren't giving numbers, why their phone machines are clogged up for a week or 2 weeks. Well, that's because we sent them affidavits and all this stuff. And see, we've been doing this for years, but that's the reason for doing that. Because the regular people can't do that unless you got somebody backing you with some money and doing certain things that you can do. So we send it to congressmen, other people, you know, people out there doing stuff, not to mention any names just yet, but we'll slowly give you all that stuff. And that was started into practice, and it takes a long time because Rome wasn't built in a day, and it takes a long time to destroy a system that's corrupt. The system is corrupt. And basically, figure this out. You couldn't have the child trafficking if someone in the government wasn't helping you. You've got to understand who you're fighting here. So when you fight them, you have to fight them the way they fight. You just take this stuff and push it behind them. And when they try to come out and twist it and go back to the truth, and you have somebody else slap them in a pincer movement. And it takes a while because who are you going to tell half of the time? Who are you going to go to? Don't forget, you're talking to the FBI, and they're like patronage workers too. And the ones at the bottom, who are they going to tell? What are they going to say? They look at your complaint when you come in, Amy, or say yours, and they say, oh, this looks real good and everything. They send it up, and then you get a form letter saying you don't have enough, which is baloney.
Yeah.
So you got...
It's crazy because, you know, I've known you for, since the conception or beginning of this fight, and you had a part in encouraging me to put my voice out there and get on the radio, and you actually introduced me to Franklin Donnie D, who gave me an hour segment on his radio show that aired out in Los Angeles. And, you know, it's been a long road, and look where we are.
Well, you know, Amy?
What?
Go ahead. Well, I was just going to tell you that you're at least, you know, getting close to real success now because, see, there's a lot of people behind the scenes that know where we're at with this. And just everything doesn't come out because you got the regular people out there, and they're afraid, and you don't blame them because they're afraid of losing this, losing that, losing their jobs, losing everything. Well, it's just like the bully in the schoolyard. Until you confront the bully, he's going to stay there. He's going to do it. It's just like the Wizard of Oz. When you look behind the screen, there's this little old guy that you... but the point is you got to have the idea to have the guts to stay there no matter what they do, what they throw at you and stuff like that. And you stayed there pretty good and pretty well. You were doing what you had to do. Maybe you had some disagreements with your guy. But you see, what people out there don't understand...
He's not my guy, okay?
No, I mean, you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying.
Well,
you know
no, look.
No, I mean, I know what you're saying. I just said it like that because I'm calm when I talk like that and just throw it out there. See, Bill is more down.
Yeah, I saw that. I heard that. Okay, that's past me.
Yes. So basically, the point is okay. You had a dispute over who he's for and who you're for. But on a talk show, everybody should have the right to say what they want to say, just like this country. Nobody should be against them for what they say or who they're with or who they're not with. But what people got to think out to themselves, whether they're black, white, Hispanic, whatever they are, who is really helping you more? Who's doing better?
You were talking about something else. You're talking about Donnie D, the host.
Yeah. When you guys are different. Hey, we'll see. Don't see you're taking it the wrong way. But anyway.
Well, that had a double meaning for me.
Yeah. Well, go ahead. What else?
My point is, it was a great platform. It gave me. It was a great learning experience, and I'm very grateful for it. Grateful to Franklin Lewis and Donnie D. And Donnie D's Words of Wisdom. It was a great show. And it had a good run. You know,
a
good run.
Well, think about this. Everybody has learning processes where you grow and go and move. And if you're not brought up inside a system that's totally corrupt and evil, you can't fight it because you don't know where to fight it at. Everybody walks into the courtroom and they think, wow, here's justice. The judge is coming out and everybody's fair and square. But you know what? You got to realize these judges are put in by the same lawyers that you people don't like. They always talk bad about lawyers. So what makes them any difference when someone comes before them and asks them a question or a case? They can't go against that. They're going against themselves. Like everybody talks about Sessions. Well, I know about talking to Sessions and stuff like that. And the point is, remember, he's an old-time politician. Who knows what happened 40, 50 years ago? We don't know what happened a long time ago, and you're in that system. See with Trump now, you've got somebody who's not a lawyer. He doesn't affiliate with the Bar Association. That's why they didn't want him in.
He's a de jure man, and he maintains his citizenship, which is very unique because I don't remember any of the last presidents really not being a bar licensed member.
There you go. You know, that recalls a time, since we're just chatting and I was watching, I watch the TV shows once in a while, just certain shows, just to see where we're at and where they are, because the internet gives you a lot of stuff, but when you watch the shows, the regular ones on TV, on the cable, you watch all the lines and what's going out there and what they're trying to produce. And if you know how the system works, you already know who's saying what and who's doing what. Now, they all turned on Trump because he's not wanted down. It's a big change for them. Russia, 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 Russia. What are the Russians going to do? I mean, what are they interfering with? They're knocking this. That's what you hear from 18 groups of people. They say all kinds of these FBI, NSA, this, that, and all. And now you're finding out the FBI has liars in there. And who are these guys? And think about this. When everybody tells you that someone's such a good guy, who's telling you that he's a good guy? One of his people. One of the people in Congress with him. Listen, you can go to any gang you want, and they can all tell you who the nicest guys are in the gang, and they're still in a gang. But see, the point is, you got to think for yourself on what's happening, and go to realism in this. Why are they really against Trump? What is he doing? Is he destroying the country, or is he really saving you your money?
Sorry. I can't turn this off. Okay, sorry.
What you got?
It just popped up on my computer. You know, Eugene, I'm so blessed. On this journey, I have made these so many beautiful friends. And one of my dear friends bought me a beautiful Apple MacBook. And I'm looking at my blog, and I'm looking at, it looks so great on a computer screen.
What is it?
It's a MacBook, and we've come from humble beginnings, okay?
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So anyways, I'm sorry that kind of interrupted. Go ahead. Keep going.
Oh, that's okay. So long as you got a president, that's fine. That's good. Good for you. That means people care, so that's one thing that's nice about this. But like I said, the problems is nobody wants to change what's going on. They want to change, but they're afraid to change. Well, the point is if Donald Trump wasn't rich, he couldn't fight these guys like that. If he wasn't actually a funny guy, this is a lot of funny things a lot of times, because Bill was telling me the stuff that he was saying in front of his place, and he bumped into Hillary, and she said, "Pardon me," and he says, "Oh, when I'm president, I'll pardon you." But see, that's how he is. He's a regular guy. Just because he's got money doesn't make him something wrong with him or anything like that. And it doesn't make everybody else right because they're this or they're that, or they talk better, or they do this. It's who's doing the most for you and your family to survive. That's the key. Who's doing the best thing for you? What's your greatest accomplishment that in the last 10 years or 15 years that someone did for you, Amy?
Yeah.
Politician. What has happened? Everybody goes to Washington, promises to do this and that, and it's the same old game. Well, now he's weeding that out. There's bad Republicans and bad Democrats. He's got to weed them all out, or else they got to change alliance and do what they have to do. And I guarantee you, which maybe 6 or 7 more months, there'll be a lot of Democrats sticking with him, going with him. I mean, it's just going to be done that way because the system is changing. It has to change.
Yeah.
It's destroying itself.
So we have a welcome Patrick to the live chat. We have some listeners tuning in. Eugene, I've known you for years, but share with us a little bit about Eugene with Patrick.
With Patrick? Who's Patrick?
Patrick is our listener. He's tuning in. He's tuning in to the show live.
I grew up in the system. My grandfather, my dad, and everybody was in the system. My uncle was from the back of the yards, Bridgeport area. And when I was a kid, I used to go with my grandfather to the meetings and stuff like that because he took care of me. My mom and dad didn't, so he did, and he would teach me a lot of things. And basically, one thing he said to me, and probably this isn't going to fit good over there, but he says, "Don't believe everything your mom and dad say." And he says, "By the way, don't believe what I say all the time." Usually your grandfather people don't talk like that. They just tell you to obey the rules, and go along with them, but do what's good and what you think, So I was thinking for myself at 8 and stuff like that and doing stuff and going out there. And at first, when you see all these political shenanigans that are going on, you laugh at them and you laugh at the people, how they act. Like you guys didn't, I don't know if you know, but my grandfather told me they used to have street marches like Hitler in Chicago under the L's. We used to stomp their feet, and they used to, carry flashlights instead of torches. Mm-hmm. See, that the Dan Ryan was started in Chicago after the Audubon. So I'm not saying he was like him or anything, but a lot of things were done in the same fashion and form. And one thing about the father, my grandfather told me, he wasn't too bad a guy because he lived in a regular bungalow no matter how much power he had. And he didn't fire anybody hardly. He just would give them 29 days off, which would mean they'd lose a month pay, and they would get back into line because then he would slowly bring them back, give them their money, or the other guy fired people. See, and actually patronage is an evil crime because once you have a patronage worker out there, he's got to do what you want, get you your votes, do what you can say, change the votes, change this, do that. He can't help himself. So basically, you don't hate him, but the guy's not perfect. It's just like the FBI. Now, at the bottom, they know things are going on that's wrong, but they got to feed their families too. So you got to find a way to get in there, change the system, and do it within their means. Like you use their ways against them, and it takes a while. And then you work your way up between these guys and who they are, and then you make friends with certain groups of people. It's like Trump. He can't be doing this himself. You know that. Mm-hmm. So there's other people behind it. And like I said, Bill was talking to me, and when he's done doing some of this stuff and some of the other professors are finished doing this stuff, we'll have a declaratory judgment and everything against them, and they can't stop. Like, in other words, basically, they violated Rule 11, which is an outtake in the appellate court. And once you take something out and don't put it back, you can't make another motion. Or if you don't put evidence in that is supposed to be put in you're caught at that, they can't make a motion. And really, only the government can do that, or the city or the state, because they're the ones that control all the papers and stuff. So basically, when we were telling you stuff like that before and on Donnie D's, we were showing you the easy way to get in without it costing you money. And when everything hits the fan, then you'll be okay there. You'll be able to get what you want. Because, like I said, we went to the Supreme Court, and they had a writ of certiorari, and they tried to turn us down, which they shouldn't have done, because Judge Duff said in there, if I give you your tapes, I can't give you your tapes. If I give them to you, everybody will want them, and they'll be playing them on TV every night.
Well, and that's the thing. We should have a lot of the parents that are in Children and Families Court and Family Court, they can't afford. Hi, Worldwide. Thanks for joining the live broadcast. Happy New Year to you. Thanks for tuning in. They can't afford their transcripts, okay? And they're not giving fee waivers in the lower courts. And the audio is central to getting a free hearing. And they don't want everybody to have access to their audio in the courts.
Well, they can't. See, because you know yourself, because remember when we talked last time, you said about hitting the microphone and you knew what that was. And then when you got to ask them for it, because remember when we first came out and we talked, and you were the one that brought me into the children's thing, because I didn't know nothing about kids, and stuff like that, So basically when I came there, you were the first one that taught me stuff about that. And then I realized, I said, what is she talking about? Because I knew everybody had tape. You have to have a tape because you have to keep a record. See, I mean, it's silly when someone says there's no tapes here, or bring your own court reporter, or do this or do that. You have to have a tape. Mm-hmm. I mean, you got to have a record of everything that's happening. They have them in traffic court. You mean they're going to have it in traffic court but not children's court? I think you were one of the first to ever ask for that. That's why it was easier to get your son out. I mean, we're trying to help 2 other people, which we can get them out, but there's more to it than that behind the scenes that we're doing. See? So in other words, there's a lot of pushing and moving around all the way to Washington and back. See, because we didn't just go to the Chicago FBI. We first went to Washington. And like when I was talking with this James Stouffer, And he says to me, well, yeah, your best bet is having Trump. I says, well, that is a good deal, but what do you think if he's watching you and you ain't going to do this case, then how's that going to look to your chief? Because under Article 2, he's the commander of everything. They all got to listen to him. Even like when the Ninth Circuit was denying him. Well, they were trying to fight back, and put him in that different kind of light because he's trying a different system. See, he just can't let it get away too far, and the people that are backing him can't let this system go too far because you're going to be in a banana republic. You'll either be poor or you'll be rich. And there won't be that many rich, and what kind of justice are you going to get when you're not rich? It's just like, what were you just saying now, that people can't afford that? Well, that's why we were telling them, and we'll tell them through your show, how to do things that when it hits the fan, they'll have enough without paying all that money to go in there and get their stuff. See, like, in other words, people don't realize that the Supreme Court already ruled that everybody can get their tapes. See, they don't know. Because if you go to the Supreme Court and you ask for your tapes, they're going to tell you, well, we don't have to talk about that because you already get them. You can pay them and get them. It's in your bill. It's in your budget, in your town, your city. Tulare County got tapes for bills in. I think, is he one of the only two people that live there?
I mean, they're supposed to provide the main audio recording.
Right.
To everybody, you're supposed to have access to that, and they're denying people access to their audio. We have another listener that just tuned in. Snarky, hi, thanks for tuning in. Happy New Year. Anyway, so
yeah, but the master tape, that's what you're talking about, the master tape. See, you have usually tapes or some kind of electronic hearing, that's there, and the court reporter has both of them.
Yeah.
And to prove it to you people out there, all you had to do was watch the O.J. Simpson case way back when. Well, Johnny Cochran was a state's attorney. So he knew the game, just like I knew the game, just like I taught Bill and everybody else the game. When I came out here, I didn't realize nobody knew there were tapes. I mean, I was shocked. I knew since I was 10, 8 years old what was going on. But the point is that they're not going to give you the tape. It's not going to match that. And there was one case when I was in court with these Colombian drug dealers were in there. And they had some top-price lawyers. And they knew what they were doing. See, they asked for the tapes first. And they got the tapes.
Mm.
They says, hey, we can't understand these tapes. They're not too good. Give us the transcripts.
Yeah.
But when for that, then the drug dealers all got let loose and they went back to Colombia. I don't know if they were carrying the drugs back with them, but they got out and they went to Colombia. That was true, and it was a big case. You can check it back in Chicago,
Quick question. Extrinsic and intrinsic evidence.
Oh, fraud, you mean?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, okay, so you can know about that. We're going to give you a whole bundle of stuff so you can have out there. But here's the point, intrinsic fraud is when it's fraud upon the court, by the court. When they're frauding you, say you're there and they're cheating you and go to you, judges don't have to do anything. They're referees. Remember what a judge is. He's a referee, right? Let's put it down to a legal basis. But common street talk, okay? So he figures what he wants to figure is right. So if someone's cheating you and you're going back with him and the fraud's gone, he don't care. He's going to just take his thing. But the minute you, your lawyer, or anybody else, court personnel, cheats him, then he's got to do something. See, that's intrinsic fraud. See, so in other words, you've got to move on that. Like send our transcripts, we're sending out the transcripts we got because here's the thing, I wasn't going to tell anybody yet, but especially with Nailson in my case, and when I know we got a winner and what we got here on them and we're pushing on them right now is, I'm not the guy. Mm-hmm. I didn't do it. But he blamed me for something I didn't even do. See, the point is I knew ahead of time, I just told him, hey, I didn't do this and that's that, and told them a couple times, and they still went with it because they needed jobs. See, a lot of people in Chicago voted for Harold Washington, and they wanted their jobs to come in, so they had to get rid of a bunch of people. So you got to remember, if they put something on your case and it's not true, it's like framing you. Of course you're going to win it. But see, here was the point in my case that was really hard for them. They had a friend of Washington, Donald Hubert Agency, doing the cases. And they did the case for 2 years even before I even got to the courtroom. They were holding me back because they knew what I had. And my lawyer that I had, his name was Harry Schroeder. And I told him, hold on until we get into court, then you can hit him with it. That's when we, solid this up. And he told the lawyer from Huber, he says, have you got this on my client? Do you know my client wasn't even there that day? That wasn't even his truck. He was at doctors for 2 days with conjunctivitis, couldn't see. I goes, oh my God, no. The Huber agency quit. Mm-hmm. And after being in that long and doing all these firings, the city had to take over. And that's when they started cheating more and more and more because the Huber agency already knew what they did. So basically, they were committing fraud themselves and covering up the crime after the fact. But since it was 2 years, it was too much money, so they would keep hiding it. And then if you couldn't get to the top people, which they put them in power, then you couldn't get your case and your evidence out there because they could swing your case around, hide it anywhere in the Supreme Court, anywhere. So we went all the way up to the Supreme Court, and we could show they were forging there too. We got them with that. And we had this woman, Sheila Mannix. She went in there and gave every judge individually that was in the Supreme Court at the time the evidence showing the fraud in cases. But mine was first because I had them definitely because they wrote stuff on there to my lawyer. And he was too afraid to take it out. He was passing back and forth to somebody else, and it said on there how the court reporter coordinator, her name was Cheryl Young. So I wouldn't say this, so I couldn't prove it, but I got it right then. I got the originals anyway. And that she was going to try to change the docket, but how hard that was to do.
I want to mention really quick, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I just want to mention Eugene has a case. It's on Justia.com. It's Eugene Zorich versus the city of Chicago. And he also has a book that you can check out on, I think it's Crown. Is it...
you know more about it than me. I didn't,
It's available. I think it's on Amazon. It's called The Death of the Justice System. And it details some of the, the fraud that Eugene has had to endure in regards to trying to get audio so that all of us can have access to the audio tapes on our case.
Well, Amy, what's good that you're explaining now about it is that the fraud that we have on them is not me eliminating them. It's them writing it about themselves. So that's what's really good. Like, they were giving us the stuff to show what they did, And basically, we had a case, they went back in the year of, was it 2005? But they went for a reason, and one guy was related to one of the dailies, and they had some kind of other case, and were trying to use my case to power themselves out of jail for some kind of thing that they did wrong, which we'll bring up to you later when Bill's finishing this stuff up. But we got him in more ways than one. It's just so bad, it's unreal.
It's so intense. You can feel it. I think everybody can kind of feel.
Yeah, and like we know a lot of other cases, like I go in and watch it and I can tell what they were going to do. See, once you know the system, they can't change that system of cheating no matter what kind of case it is. Because, Amy, you only can cheat one way, especially when you push this across the country. And basically you can't go and tell these people in California or Colorado to cheat different. You can't do it. There's too many of them. Mm. So basically...
What do you think? Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean...
No, go ahead.
No, I want you to finish what you're saying.
No, well, so basically everybody has the cheating the same way. So if you think mine's a job case and yours is a child case and yours is a murder case, well, wait a minute here. They can only cheat you the same way. And every federal court takes over every district court. So basically, they all report to Washington, to the Supreme Court. So what makes you people think that every state is different? If they fraud, they fraud. If they fraud, your case is vitiated. If you don't want to spend money on a lawyer, just write and ask for your tape. When they don't give it to you, when this comes out that they got to give you the tape, then they violated your constitutional rights of getting a fair trial. You didn't give you due process. Your case is voided. Now, let's look at the guy that's in the government, just to throw this around between me and you. Okay, what was his name? The guy the general that they were mad at. I forgot him. And they got him for perjuring himself. Now, if they can prove that the dossier that he was convicted on was fraud, he's innocent. They have to throw that case out because it's based on fraud. That's the same thing with all your cases out there. If you show something that's fraud in there, no matter what the charge is, if they convict you, you confess, you settle, you do anything, that case is tossed because it was based on a fraud. That's just common sense. Now, I'm not a lawyer, and I never would want to be one, but the law is this. I've talked to a lot of professors, some from Georgetown, some from Marshall Law School. Jean Lucerne, she was on that.
I wanted to mention, what do you think about the UN coming in to Chicago? Because you live out there in Chicago.
Well, the UN, we're coming in. We don't even know what's coming in Chicago. Basically, don't go out because you don't want to get shot usually, you know what I mean? But basically, the UN coming in, I wouldn't pay any, but I don't think nothing of them. I don't think anything of the UN. They're not going to push anybody around. That's not going to totally happen. They're saying it's happening, but I've seen nobody from the UN here. I mean, if they're going to do anything, they should arrest who's ever in power here in Chicago. Because, look, you got to basically understand everything's fixed. Everything's a fraud. It's been fixed for years and years and years. And you always hear about Chicago. But the point is basically what we're doing with Trump and the way he's pushing this and the way he's got to push it, clean out the swamp. That's the only way you're going to do it and put in new young people, you know, that want to do the right thing. You know what I mean? It's just like you. Like you got your way in which you're telling people out there what's going on and stuff like that. And it's just a common thing. Why be mad at them? They're only trying to keep their jobs and doing it. It's the person at the top that's forcing them into this. And they give them the jobs so they can vote for them, so they can go and do this. And I mean, who's going to actually forge transcripts and do that unless they want to keep their jobs? Now, we can prove they forged transcripts. They even wrote it to us that they've got them forged and these are not the right I mean, they've written this down in their own names. And I think with Teresa Ann Pantosi, I'm even giving you a name out there. What is she going to do? She had two signatures on one of my transcripts. One was forged, one was hers, one was not. So when they tried to clean it up, one of them put down, this has now been corrected. What do you mean it's been corrected? You just made a fraud here. What are you talking about? We let them go, but we've got all this evidence to produce and give out once we push the whole thing. We've never really went in and pushed the button, like dropped the bomb yet on them. But we'll be doing that very soon because Trump's in there now.
Yeah.
So basically, it's a different story. It's not the same old lawyers, the same old stuff, the same old... He's just a businessman.
The old establishment.
Yeah, you know what I mean. It's got to be different, and then
the shadow government.
Right. The shadow is coming out in the light now, and you can see it, and the shadow is old, and it's really not as destructive as you think. It's weak, but it just fears you, like the Wizard of Oz, and people are always afraid of a change, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But if you basically took a look at these guys, or lived with them, or seen them, I mean, my God, you know, it's just, it's an ongoing thing. Fear is all in the eyes of the beholder. There's nothing to fear but fear itself. That's what Franklin Delano Roosevelt said. But basically, you got to change, or they're just going to stomp you out. Keep taking your children, keep doing stuff, keep doing all that. So, what is everybody mad at Donald for? Because he's rich. I don't understand this point. Do you, Amy?
Well, it doesn't help either that he has a beautiful wife and a beautiful family, and he's wealthy.
Wait a minute. That ain't a crime.
What?
It's not a crime. It's more of a crime. The guy that's stealing off you and taking your kid and changing your transcript.
Oh, I mean, of course. But you know, it's all fodder.
Yeah, it's all fodder. You know what I mean? But think about it. If everybody out there could leave like Eva Cleaver and all them, they'd be happy. See what I mean? Don't you think Trump, every time, did you ever notice these presidents in that, like Obama? They're in there for 4 years, 5 years, they look like they're 80 years old, and, you know, they can't take the cheating and lying, you know?
They can't take that.
Cool.
So, I have some inside juicy details.
Go ahead, you know.
On the 8th and the 9th, out there in Nevada and Las Vegas, you know, there's the Bundy case where this judge, her name is Gloria Navarro. And she was like a struggling investigator at a low-level law firm. And she was vetting cases. And apparently she was taking bribes, you know, to manipulate cases.
Right.
And Harry Reid got wind of this. Harry Reid is Harry Mason Reid. He's a retired politician who served as a senator in Nevada from, I think, 1987 to like recently 2017. And he approached Gloria back, during the Obama administration, and he asked her, if you were presiding over the Bundy case, would you take their land? And she's like, sure, And apparently he wrote her some letters of recommendation, and shortly after that, Obama appointed her to the bench. Well, on this case, there is evidence, okay, that she was taking bribes and all of this. They have it all, okay? And so apparently the 8th or 9th, they're reconvening the Bundy case out there in Nevada, and there's going to be a arrest because that case is corrupt, and they killed Lavoy Finnegam. It's just out of control, and I am hoping, folks, that this is the first in a string of arrests of corrupt judges.
Well, yeah, they're supposed to put in about 400 new ones, is the way I heard it, and I'd say anything. But when Bill comes in, Bill will tell you something that the professor likes looking into this stuff. I just like playing around with these guys and, doing what I got to do. See, because if you just shove back at them their lies, they don't know what to do. And then they try to come out and tell the truth, and then you can push them that way in a pincer movement, and they can't do anything. So that's basically what you're doing. But the reason it takes like 20 years, 25 years, whatever it is they're so deeply entrenched in here that you can't even know who to go to. Mm-hmm. I mean, because basically you're the wrong person, you can have trouble if you don't have protection. If you have protection, well, you have to worry about anybody, because you can say what you want on there, and they ain't going to do a damn thing. That's why on the internet, wrote an affidavit and signed it. But if we look at it, what are they going to do? Put you in jail for telling the truth? They go to court, they'll be slapped down. There's nothing they can do that we can't prove with evidence, their own evidence. See, that's what you do, is you get them to actually convict themselves. Because if you just say it and do it, they're going to say you're a legend, this and a legend, that, and this and that. But no, we're not a legend. It's just like Justia and Westlaw and them. They're wrong in my case. That's not the decision that happened. Mm-hmm. We've got real decisions. We've got the stuff. We wouldn't be able to say that Lawrence Rosenthal stole the oral argument tape out of the appellate court. And you know what's funny about that is, in a Shackman decree, it's a consent decree. That means it's a contract. You can't appeal it. They tried to appeal it, and they were letting them do it because basically we have the First Amendment case up there on jobs, and you can't fire people. You can't transfer them. You can't do a lot of things. And they brought that in as the Shackman, because when he went in there doing his thing in the 70s, they basically made a deal with him, and Cook County and Chicago promised they would never do it again. So if they did it one time or lost one case, it was over for them. And the Northern District of Illinois would have to punish them. But see, the Northern District and everybody was in on this stuff. So when I went there and won the case, that threw Shackman out the door. That's just like we got Roe versus Wade. If someone comes in here and overturns Roe versus Wade, it doesn't exist anymore. Well, Shackman doesn't exist. He didn't exist after 1990. He was gone. He was completely gone because he was just a consent decree. It was me. And all they had to use was use what I said in there. And here's the good thing about the case that I had. I know a lot of people have been saying, I hear them saying this, so I just listen to them, and let it go and just tell you hit things now and then, Amy, And basically, nobody can treat you as a lawyer if you're a pro se. If you look at the case I've got, and it's a precedent case, it's the only one of its kind. You know why? Because there's no cases in there referring to it. Like, in other words, you have cases out there, and you refer to this case, so-and-so, 1978, and this and that. Well, no one can refer to anything in my case because it's the first case of its kind. And nobody ever won Shackman, and say thousands of people that fought it. Nobody won it. They would settle with somebody for under $80,000, and that would keep it inside the court system in the corporation counsel's office. And that way it wouldn't get out and everybody wouldn't look into it. But these stupid people that I was dealing with were putting it on TV against all odds. Robert Stack showed this, that, everything, put it in the news, but they would never mention the tapes. Nobody would mention the tapes except the shows that we were on that were on YouTube and that, Chicago Public shows. So we would keep them and then send them out and have that for records. So we built up this whole collage of evidence against them. I mean, we have at least, you know what it was? You can talk to Bill when he talks to you in the next show. And he's looking at it, going crazy over it because he was first writing the case up to see what the fraud was. And when he went through it, when he got through like a week of looking at it, he was trying to find out what wasn't fraud. The whole thing. And basically the judge says in there, he says, look, I can't treat a pro se as a lawyer. So he would let me go up, question them, and stand right next to them, and they had to stay behind the line.
You had a good judge then, because, I mean...
No. It wasn't that he was so good, because at the end he had to turn on me because he had to save himself. So you got to understand that he was good and he was bad. But the point is that he was put in there by Charles Percy. I was with Daly. He was a Daly guy. That's the way it was working. But the point is, we were going. I never asked him for anything except the job back. And he kept telling them, you better settle with this guy, settle with this guy. And they wouldn't listen because they were mad at me for beating them. So that they just couldn't stand it that somebody in the truck driver was going to do this. Because it's, how people are. You play against their, how they game. You never let nobody bluff you, because 9 out of 10 times people are bluffing and you can beat them. So you'd rather lose with the cards you got in your hand than to have someone bluff you, because it screws up your whole game and you're mad at yourself. So I basically believe in just going straight ahead and doing what you got to do. But see, Duff was a good guy in a way, but some of the things that are in there are so comical in the transcript that you read, because he asks them, did you know they're framing this guy? And this guy X goes, yes, Your Honor, I did. They should have threw out the case then. Then they went and they changed it in the transcripts. Did you know that the truck was broken before he got there? And then he said yes. So they didn't change it enough. And stupidly, they gave me the rough draft, the very first rough draft they had, because I was supposed to get someone to get my damages. See, so basically what happened then, when I got my hands on that, I knew it was frauded. I went and certified the fraudulent tape, the transcript. I mean, it was really terrible. When you see it, it's bad. We'll send you one, Amy. I don't know if you got one, but we'll send you one. But anyway, you can put up pages in there and I can tell your people how the judge ruled in a case that is a precedent case in the Supreme Court that, in other words, you can't hold a person to the same rules as a lawyer. You can't do it. They're just lying to you when they're saying that stuff.
Well, yeah, they're saying, well, they don't want people being pro se because they don't know the procedures in the court, when that really isn't applicable. And, they're trying to really discourage people from going pro se. But...
Well, you know why? Because the lawyers can only go so far. I bet you there's a lot of people out there that listen to your show that are hearing from their lawyers, well, you can do more than I can do. You can do this. That's what I heard all the time, is you can do more than this. You can do more than that. So what you basically do when you go to a lawyer is what I did, just like me, just showing it around now. I asked him a question. And then about 2.5, 3 months later, I asked him the same question in a different way. If he changed it, then I knew he was no good. I dumped him, got another lawyer. He would pick it up from where he's at, and he'd have it for 90 more days. So then you keep getting lawyers like 5 or 6 of them, and you got the whole case done for yourself, and you can take care of it yourself. But basically, there's certain things that you can do as a pro se, where you can catch them on the first 3, 4 questions, and they're shot. Like if you go in the court and say, I want my tapes, now the lawyer's supposed to get you your tapes because he's you. Now they might give him the tapes and they'll say, well, we gave you the tapes because he acts like you. Because remember, Amy, like when you get up in court, the lawyer gets up with you at the end of the sentence and sees you. It's just that you go to jail or take the loss and he goes home. So basically, that's what this is. So you demand your tapes from your lawyer. If your lawyer doesn't get you the tapes, then you know he's going to cheat you. Why are you paying him?
Yeah.
I want you to take your shot at it.
That's
and
an
if you
important point. That's an important point you made. Well, you know what? We're getting close to the bottom of the hour.
Oh, sorry.
And I want to have you back on the show. You know, it's nice that you came on kind of off the cuff with me like this because it's New Year's Eve. And, yeah, I got stood up tonight.
Oh.
So thanks for coming on the air with me and keeping me company.
Yeah, well, it's a pleasure, you know, because you're always a nice person. You always were a good friend and everything. So basically, we'd like to go on with Bill again, and he'll tell you some things, you know, because he likes to professor it and go into...
Professor Fabricius, yes.
Yeah, he likes to go into that, you know, and like I talked to this Georgetown guy, and it's anyone that talk like that too, but I like basically to talk with the people regular, because they don't understand all these rules and all this stuff, you know, you can go look it up after we tell it to you, but you got to logically look at everything, Amy. You know what I mean? Like, logically why they're doing this, why they're not giving you this, why they're not having that. I mean, people don't
really... Because they're fixed in the cases.
Right. And then a lot of times, like, you know, what I like about your show is, to tell you the truth, there's a lot of people out there that really are leading the people in the wrong directions. And if you grow up in this system, you can see that. You can see that they're taking you away from what the real story is. Because at first, you know, people would try to take you away, but then you got back on the track and you knew exactly what you were doing. See, but you have to learn. You have to be out there and learn. And when you learn when you're a little kid, then you just know how they're going to make the play, what they're going to do. You know, before they do it, you're 5 steps ahead of them. So
well, it's great that you come on and you share all of this insight and knowledge, because I know you've been around this since you were very, very young, and you're a very seasoned gentleman now. And thank you so much for sharing your wisdom this evening. I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, you have a good New Year in that, and, you know, just take it easy. It's just another day, and the New Year will be better for everybody, and don't give up hope, because things are changing, and you guys don't really know it because nobody wants you to know they're changing.
Yeah, and there's so much hope with this new executive order that Trump just came out with.
Yeah, we know the whole thing. We had the days ahead of time. It came out on the 21st, but we knew about that way before that.
Yeah, I think you mentioned it. Did we mention it on the last show that you and Eugene...
Because we were talking about martial law and then the Powers Act, you know, that's what it basically is. But you know what? When you have a war on crime, war on drugs, you're always having a war. You're always under martial law. I mean, you got to understand the logic behind what these people say. And basically, you just got to have hope that there's going to be eventually people that are going to change things, and then you make it better for yourself. And that's all the best you can do. And just don't be mad at somebody because they're rich or they're smart or doing.
I do want to have you back on, you and Eugene and Bill, Mr. Fabricius, because I want to talk about the remedies that are going to be available under this new executive order. Eugene, thank you so much for coming on the Porthole to Justice.
Yes, it was my pleasure. Hope to hear from you. Hey, let me know how we did, okay?
Oh, I will do. I'll send Bill over a link to the show. All right, everyone. This has been another episode of Porthole to Justice, Off the Cuff, the window to the truth. You can tune in and subscribe on Spreaker.com. It is free to download the app. And I hope you tune in. You can also, the affidavit for your audio tapes, the template is available in the Porthole to Justice. Go to the mem that's titled Death of the Justice System, and you can access it there. All right, everyone. Have a great evening and Happy New Year.